Hello all. Welcome, Firesiders. I'm Gildart Jackson. Hello, Marion and Evelyn and Mary and A Giggles. You were the first ones up today, and everyone who's here, I'm so glad you're here. I sit in front of the fire every day at 5 if I can, and I read to those who might like to join us all. It's a lovely group of people, and I'm so glad that you're all here. And we have after today, 4 more days by my calculation on The Sun Also Rises. And then we will proceed. I got, just before Christmas, I got a few titles from people, and I think I'm going to do one of those. But if you have an idea for a book, please send it in to Fireside Reading with Gildart at gmail.com. Fireside Reading with Gildart, Gildart, at gmail.com. Gildart is a strange name. It is a family name. A long time ago, there was a Mr. Gildart, his last name. And it's as a result of him that all men children down the line have been called Gildart for a long time, since 13 something. But my wife and I have no boys, and so I'm the last in the line, I'm afraid to say. Welcome to Fireside Reading of The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Chapter 17, Part 2. Back in the town, I went to the cafe to have a second coffee and some buttered toast. The waiters were sweeping out the cafe and mopping off the tables. One came over and took my order. "Anything happen at the Encierro?" "I didn't see it all. One man was badly cogido." "Where?" "Here." I put one hand on the small of my back and the other on my chest, where it looked as though the horn must have come through. The waiter nodded his head and swept the crumbs from the table with his cloth. "Badly cogido," he said. "All for sport, all for pleasure." He went away and came back with the long-handled coffee and milk pots. He poured the milk and coffee. It came out of the long spouts in 2 streams into the big cup. The waiter nodded his head. "Badly cogido through the back," he said. He put the pots down on the table and sat down in the chair at the table. "A big horn wound, all for fun, just for fun. What do you think of that?" "I don't know." "That's it, all for fun. Fun, you understand?" "You're not an aficionado." "Me? What are bulls? Animals, brute animals." He stood up and put his hand on the small of his back. "Right through the back. A cornada right through the back. For fun, you understand." He shook his head and walked away, carrying the coffee pots. 2 men were going by in the street. The waiter shouted to them. They were grave-looking. One shook his head. "Muerto," he called. The waiter nodded his head. The 2 men went on. They were on some errand. The waiter came over to my table. "You hear? Muerto, dead. He's dead, with a horn through him. All for morning fun. Es muy flamenco." "It's bad." "Not for me," the waiter said. "No fun in that for me." Later in the day, we learned that the man who was killed was named Vicente Girones and came from near Tafalla. The next day in the paper, we read that he was 28 years old and had a farm and a wife and 2 children. He had continued to come to the fiesta each year after he was married. The next day, his wife came in from Tafalla, and to be with the body. And the day after, there was a service in the chapel of San Fermin, and the coffin was carried to the railway station by members of the Dancing and Drinking Society of Tafaya. The drums marched ahead, and there was music on the fifes, and behind the men who carried the coffin walked the wife and 2 children. Behind them marched all the members of the Dancing and Drinking Societies of Pamplona, Estella, Tafaya, and Sangüesa, who could stay over for the funeral. The coffin was loaded into the baggage car of the train, and the widow and the 2 children rode, sitting, all 3 together, in an open third-class railway carriage. The train started with a jerk and then ran smoothly, going down grade around the edge of the plateau and out into the fields of grain that blew in the wind on the plain on the way to Tafaya. The bull who killed Vicente Girones was named Bocanegra, was number 118 of the bull-breeding establishment of Sanchez Tabemo, and was killed by Pedro Romero as the 3rd bull of that same afternoon. His ear was cut by popular acclamation and given to Pedro Romero, who in turn gave it to Brett, who wrapped it in a handkerchief belonging to myself, and left both ear and handkerchief, along with a number of Murati cigarette stubs, shoved far back in the drawer of the bed table that stood beside her bed in the Hotel Montoya in Pamplona. Back in the hotel, the night watchman was sitting on a bench inside the door. He'd been there all night and was very sleepy. He stood up as I came in. 3 of the waitresses came in at the same time. They had been to the morning show at the Bull Ring. They went upstairs laughing. I followed them upstairs and went into my room. I took off my shoes and lay down on the bed. The window was open onto the balcony, and the sunlight was bright in the room. I did not feel sleepy. It must have been 3:30 when I'd gone to bed, and the bands had waked me at 6. My jaw was sore on both sides. I felt it with my thumb and fingers. That damn cone. He should have hit somebody the first time he was insulted and then gone away. He was so sure that Brett loved him. He was going to stay, and true love would conquer all. Someone knocked on the door. "Come in." It was Bill and Mike. They sat down on the bed. "Some encierro," Bill said. "Some encierro." "I say, weren't you there?" Mike asked. "Ring for some beer, Bill?" "What a morning," Bill said. He mopped off his face. "My God, what a morning! And here's old Jake the human punching bag." "What happened inside?" "Good God," Bill said. "What happened, Mike?" "There were these bulls coming in," Mike said. "Just ahead of them was the crowd, and some chap tripped and brought the whole lot of them down. And the bulls all came in right over them," Bill said. "I heard them yell." "That was Edna," Bill said. "Chaps kept coming out and waving their shirts. One bull went along the barrera and hooked everybody over. They took about 20 chaps to the infirmary," Mike said. "What a morning," Bill said. "The damn police kept arresting chaps that wanted to go and commit suicide with the bulls." "The steers took them in the end," Mike said. "It took about an hour." "It was really about a quarter of an hour," Mike objected. "Oh, go to hell," Bill said. "You've been in the war. It was 2.5 hours for me." "Where's that beer?" Mike asked. "What did you do with the lovely Edna?" "We took her home just now. She's gone to bed." "How did she like it?" "Fine. We told her it was just like that every morning." "She was impressed," Mike said. "She wanted us to go down in the ring too," Bill said. "She likes action." "I said it wouldn't be fair to my creditors," Mike said. "What a morning," Bill said. "And what a night." How's your jaw, Jake? Mike asked. Sore, I said. Bill laughed. Why didn't you hit him with a chair? You can talk, Mike said. He'd have knocked you out too. I never saw him hit me. I rather think I saw him just before, and then quite suddenly I was sitting down in the street, and Jake was lying under a table. Where did he go afterward? I asked. Here she is, Mike said. Here's the beautiful lady with the beer. The chambermaid put the tray with the beer bottles and glasses down on the table. Now, bring up 3 more bottles, Mike said. Where did Cone go after he hit me? Oh, no. Where did Cone go after he hit me? I asked Bill. Don't you know about that? Mike was opening a beer bottle. He poured the beer into one of the glasses, holding the glass close to the bottle. Really? Bill asked. Why, he went in and found Brett and the bullfighter chap in the bullfighter's room, and then he massacred the poor bloody bullfighter. No. Yes. What a night, Bill said. He nearly killed the poor bloody bullfighter. Then Cone wanted to take Brett away, wanted to make an honest woman of her, I imagine. Damned touching scene. He took a long drink of the beer. He is an ass. What happened? Brett gave him what for. She told him off. I think she was rather good. I'll bet she was, Bill said. Then Cone broke down and cried and wanted to shake hands with the bullfighter fellow. He wanted to shake hands with Brett, too. I know, he shook hands with me. Did he? Well, they weren't having any of it. The bullfighter fellow was rather good. He didn't say much, but he kept getting up and getting knocked down again. Cone couldn't knock him out. It must have been damned funny. Where did you hear all this? Brett, I saw her this morning. What happened finally? It seems the bullfighter fellow was sitting on the bed. He'd been knocked down about 15 times, and he wanted to fight some more. Brett held him and wouldn't let him get up. He was weak, but Brett couldn't hold him, and he got up. Then Cone said he wouldn't hit him again, said he couldn't do it, said it would be wicked. So the bullfighter chap sort of rather staggered over to him. Cone went back against the wall. So, you won't hit me? No, said Cone. I'd be rather ashamed to. So the bullfighter fellow hit him just as hard as he could in the face, and then sat down on the floor. He couldn't get up, Brett said. Cone wanted to pick him up and carry him to the bed. He said if Cone helped him, he'd kill him, and he'd kill him anyway this morning if Cone wasn't out of town. Cone was crying, and Brett had told him off, and he wanted to shake hands. Oh, I've told you that before. Tell the rest, Bill said. It seems the bullfighter chap was sitting on the floor. He was waiting to get strength enough to get up and hit Cone again. Brett wasn't having any shaking hands, and Cone was crying and telling her how much he loved her, and she was telling him not to be a ruddy ass. Then Cone leaned down to shake hands with the bullfighter fellow. No hard feelings, you know, all for forgiveness. And the bullfighter chap hit him in the face again. That's quite a kid, Bill said. He ruined Cone, Mike said. You know, I don't think Cone will ever want to knock people about again. When did you see Brett? This morning. She came in to get some things. She's looking after this Romero lad. He poured out another bottle of beer. Brett's rather cut up, but she loves looking after people. That's how we came to go off together. She was looking after me. I know, I said. I'm rather drunk, Mike said. I think I'll stay rather drunk. This is all awfully amusing, but it's not too pleasant. It's not too pleasant for me. He drank off the beer. I gave Brett what for, you know. I said if she would go about with Jewish people and bullfighters and such people, she must expect trouble. He leaned forward. I say, Jake, do you mind if I drink that bottle of yours? She'll bring you another one. Please, I said, I wasn't drinking it anyway. Mike started to open the bottle. Would you mind opening it? I pressed up the wire fastener and poured it for him. You know, Mike went on, Brett was rather good. She's always rather good. I gave her a fearful hiding about Jewish people and bullfighters and all those sort of people. And you know what she said? Yes, I'd had such a hell of a happy life with the British aristocracy. He took a drink. That was rather good. Ashley, chap she got the title from, was a sailor, you know, 9th baronet. When he came home, he wouldn't sleep in a bed. Always made Brett sleep on the floor. Finally, when he got really bad, he used to tell her he'd kill her. Always slept with a loaded service revolver. Brett used to take the shells out when he'd gone to sleep. She hasn't had an absolutely happy life, Brett. Damn shame, too. She enjoys things, too. He stood up. His hand was shaky. I'm going in the room, try and get a little sleep. He smiled. We go too long without sleep in these fiestas. I'm going to start now and get plenty of sleep. Damn bad thing not to get sleep. Makes you frightfully nervy. We'll see you at noon at the Irunia, Bill said. Mike went out the door. We heard him in the next room. He rang the bell, and the chambermaid came and knocked at the door. Bring up 6 bottles of beer and a bottle of Fundador, Mike told her. Si, señorito. I'm going to bed, Bill said. Poor old Mike. I had a hell of a row about him last night. Where, at that Milano place? Yes, there was a fellow there that had helped pay Brett and Mike out of Cannes once. He was damn nasty. I know the story. I didn't. Nobody ought to have a right to say things about Mike. That's what makes it bad. They oughtn't to have any right. I wish to hell they didn't have any right. I'm going to bed. Was anybody killed in the ring? I don't think so, just badly hurt. A man was killed outside, in the runway. Was there? Said Bill. Four more night stays of reading The Sun Also Rises. I do hope you'll join me. It'll be the next 4 days, I think, if I've calculated that correctly. And then another book, probably starting at the start of next week. But I'll firm all that up and tell you what the next book is, depending on any suggestions. If you have any suggestions for the next book, please send them to me at firesidereadingwithgildart@gmail.com. Until we all meet again, I do hope you all stay very, very well. Bye-bye.